Hello everyone, my name is Bethany and this is my channel, Thany's Thoughts. Today I'm going to start doing my May wrap-up because May's not quite over, so I want to just quickly recap some of the things that I have read, and then I'll probably come back and finish some of the things that I am in the middle of reading. The first thing I read and finished was The Betrothed by Kiera Cass. I have a full review of that book that I can link up above and you can take a look and see my thoughts on it. The Betrothed is about Hollis, who is being pursued by a king to become his queen, and another young man from another kingdom comes to visit, or comes to live in their kingdom, and she starts to have feelings for this other guy from the other kingdom. I really liked it. I rated it 4 stars, and it's getting a lot of hate on Goodreads, and BookTube has been not kind to it, unfortunately. Here's the thing. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a little ranty here. If you expect to go into a different series by the same author and expect the same series, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. I actually really appreciate that Kiera Cass did something very different from the Selection series, because guess what? I read the Selection series and it was great. I didn't want to read it again. I wanted to read something different. This was different. This was not what I expected, and I liked that about it. Her world building was way better. I mean, I think her characters in Selection are a little bit better. I think her characters are a little bit weaker in this book. I definitely agree. But I think she still stretched and expanded herself as a writer, and I don't get why the hate for this just being basically not being the Selection. So don't go in expecting the Selection. It's not that. But I think it was still very good, and I'm really excited about the second book, and I'm excited to see what is going to happen. There you have it. Sorry about the rant. The rants will happen as time goes on. The next book that I finished was going to be Silence Fallen by Patricia Briggs. This is the 9th, 10th, I don't know what number we're on. What number are we on? I think this is the 8th or 9th book of Mercy Thompson series. She's a coyote shifter, and she's one of the last of her kind, and she is married to a werewolf. This has a whole world of fae, werewolves, vampires, but a contemporary setting. It's an urban fantasy. I really like Patricia Briggs' world building. I've really liked the series so far. And this particular book, Mercy gets kidnapped, and she ends up in Europe, kidnapped by some vampires, and of course her mate and Adam goes out and search for her. So there's a little bit of perspective from Adam in this book because they're separated. So we're getting his perspective and hers, which I really, really enjoyed. I like that about this one. And it was okay. I liked it. I think I'm getting a little tired of the series because new things that I come excited about kind of end up nothing really comes out of them lately. But this one was interesting. It was a little bit different setting. We're in Europe. We've never been there in this book series before. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. She gets stuck in Prague for a little bit, and I've never been to Prague. Now I'm intrigued about going to Prague. It sounds like a pretty cool city. So one of the things I found disappointing about it is one of my favorite characters from the series is a vampire. And if you know me at all, you know that I'm not really a big fan of vampires. So that's saying a lot if he's one of my favorite characters. And he didn't really feature in this book at all. I mean, he was there, but he did not. I don't know, I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping he was going to play a bigger part in the book, and he did not. So that's just me. I still rated 3.5 stars. I still really enjoyed the story. It just, like I said, it's nothing new is really happening. Mercy is just still being a badass and causing chaos, which is what she does, which is always fun and delightful. The next book in the series is actually from a spin-off series, Alpha and the Omega, but usually Alpha and the Omega is like interspersed in between the Mercy Thompson series. So I'm gonna probably read that one next. Alpha and Omega series are actually a little bit more because it's centered around another couple. Mercy Thompson knows him, and it's him and his partner, and they have some really interesting chemistry and really interesting stories. So I'm looking forward to that one. So I'm not going to get everything that I plan to do in my TBR, but I'm going to get most of it done. So I'm currently 75% done with The Locker Room from Megan Quinn. I'm very close to finishing. I am 60% done with When the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. And I am probably 70%, 60 to 70% done with Brightly Burning, which is the Jane Eyre retelling, because I've actually been rereading Jane Eyre and reading Burning Brightly at the same time, so it's taking me a little bit longer. I'm not like full rereading Jane Eyre. I'm skipping some parts, I'm skimming some parts. It's not like a full reread because I know the story quite well already. I'm just kind of refreshing my mind on some of like the specific scenes. All 3 books I'm really enjoying and I'm really liking, so I'm hoping that those 3 are the ones that I'm going to try to finish and get done by in the next 3 days. I can do it. The first half of the month was kind of rocky for me, but I think that I can finish strong and finish the things, and I'll give you all my wrap-ups for those books when I come and film the rest of this video, okay? So stay tuned. And I'm back with my May wrap-up. So without further ado, let's get started. I took a detour for my TBR because that's what I do, and someone on BookTube mentioned the graphic novel Heartstopper, and it was available online on Tumblr, and I have a very fond love for webcomics, especially graphic novels that start out as webcomics. I actually have quite a bit of webcomic type of collection over here. I decided to go ahead and check it out, and of course I was immediately hooked. So she has one book, I think it's out in the US. I think volume 2 and 3 are not out in the US. They're out and available in the UK. But since I read most and caught up with most of the comic up to now, I decided that I'm going to count for 2 of them. The third one I don't think is, when I say the third one, I don't think I finished, or I don't know what volume, I don't know what chapters the third one is, so I decided not to count that one because I wasn't 100% sure if I read up to that point. I'll link the Tumblr down below if you want to check it out, but I also strongly recommend reading the books. I know I plan on purchasing them when I get a chance to. It is so pure and so adorable. It was so good. So Heartstopper is about Charlie, a neurotic overthinker. I guess it's placed in the UK, but technically, like in US standards, he's a high school student. He meets Nick, and Nick is a rugby player, really athletic, but also very friendly and very kind. And Charlie is openly gay in school, and they're an all-boys school. And Nick is considered straight as time goes on. He's realizing he's growing emotional feelings for Charlie and has to also confront his sexuality on that. Nick is such a cinnamon roll character. He's so adorable, and Charlie is just like head over heels for him, and they are so cute together. It's really precious. It's such a really great queer representation, and it was just so genuine and so sweet. And it also confronts like elements of like bullying and being openly gay and queer in school, in public, coming out, what that means. Recently, in the more recent episodes, I don't think is in probably volume 1 and 2, but is kind of confronting eating disorders. So there's so many layers to it, and I'm really enjoyed it, and I really love it. I'm going to continue with the webcomic and buy all the things when they come out. It was just so cute. So 5 stars for Heartstopper. I'd counted volumes 1 and 2. It was just so cute. Oh, I didn't even say who was by. I was just so excited to talk about Heartstopper. Heartstopper by Alice Osman. It was so precious. I really loved it. So this is what I was doing with the tandem reads. So I was in preparation of my book club over Zoom for reading Jane Eyre. I was rereading Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. While I was rereading it, which I wasn't a full reread, I mean, I read most of it, but I skimmed parts, kind of. And I mean, Jane Eyre is pretty dense. It's the old type of prose language, but there was parts that I kind of skimmed, parts that I kind of skipped. Not as many skippages as more skimming. And then in tandem with this, I was reading Brightly Burning by Alexa Donne. And so reading it in tandem was really interesting. And I want to almost do that with retellings from here on out for the rest of my life, because it was really fascinating to read these both at the same time. I'm going to start with Jane Eyre. If you haven't seen some of my videos already, especially my May TBR, I'm a huge Jane Eyre fan. I read it when I was 16. I call it the book that doomed me to become an English major. It's about Jane, and Jane has a pretty tough life. She's an orphan. She is with a family that doesn't want her, goes to school, a terrible school that has terrible conditions, but she ends up thriving there and becomes a governess at the house of Mr. Rochester, and has a romance with him, and then things happen. It's traditionally Gothic fiction, if you're familiar with Gothic fiction at all. Northanger Abbey is actually a great example of a book that makes fun of Gothic fiction. Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I could go into a whole litany of how it's different than Gothic fiction, because I took a Gothic fiction class in college, but I'm not going to. The amount of times I accidentally read Gothic fiction happens more often than you think. It's been a minute since I reread this. Last time I read it was in college, so that was when I was 22. It's been a decade-ish since then. I wasn't sure how it was going to hold up, or if it would, or if I still would love it. I was pretty sure I was going to still love it, but I was thinking maybe I wouldn't, or maybe I have always felt like, especially when I was in college, I had to defend this book a lot, and especially the actions of Mr. Rochester. And reading it again, I stand firm in my love for Mr. Rochester. I stand firm on my stance for Mr. Rochester. Just really fell in love with it all over again. And then my book club and I had the best chat and discussion over Zoom about it. It was just so good. I really enjoyed it. I still absolutely adore this book. So that hasn't changed. Still 5 stars, rated 5 stars, still 5 stars. Hasn't changed. Brightly Burning follows a retelling of Jane Eyre, only sci-fi. So in this version, Stella is considered the Jane character. I didn't love the fact that they changed the names, I'm not gonna lie. And Captain Hugo is Mr. Rochester. So same kind of concept. Stella is an orphan. She's on a spaceship. There are spaceships orbiting Earth. Earth is uninhabitable due to an ice age, and they are on spaceships orbiting Earth, waiting it out till they can return back. So, but they've been up there for a while. Has been abandoned from my family, is an orphan, works on a ship that's basically falling apart, decides to, wants to be hired as a teacher. She gets hired as a governess on a different ship, a private ship, and which is Captain Hugo's ship, and starts a romance with Mr. Rochester. So there's definitely some details that are changed, obviously, to adapt the sci-fi. And the twist ending was very different, which, okay, this book is like over 150 years old. If I'm going to spoil it, then please jump ahead. But I'm going to tell you right here now, if you don't know the spoiler to the twist of this, I don't know what to tell you, but you should know. The twist was very different. But I guess you can't beat like Crazy Wife in an Attic. I mean, it's hard to beat that. So I felt like it was a little bit weaker. Her reason for leaving wasn't as strong as, you have a crazy wife in the attic, I gotta go. There's also a side character where she that she had feelings before she met Captain Hugo, and I didn't really understand what his purpose was. So I gave it 4 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I hadn't been tandem reading, because seeing how closely plotted it is compared to Jane Eyre was really, really pleasant to see. Like, I think Alexa did a really great job in following the very similar story with it, so I really appreciated that. I think my issue with it too was that I really love Jane. Jane is such a really good character. Like, she's so strong in herself, considering her circumstances, considering what she's been through. She has like this really great inner strength. And I feel like Stella, you don't get a lot of that from her until towards the end, and I wish I had seen more of that in the beginning. I just think I would have liked her better. I still really enjoyed. If you're a Jane Eyre fan at all, and you are like sci-fi, then definitely check it out. Some of the changes that she made I thought were really creative and really fun. It's a fun retelling. I really enjoyed it. I like retellings, folks. They're fun. And the next book I decided to read after the heaviness of Jane Eyre, which was because it was quite dense and quite a lot, I decided to switch up and read something a little bit lighter. So I went ahead and read The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. It was so cute and so good. I rated it 5 stars. It was just so precious and so pure. So Prince Sebastian is a prince. He's visiting Paris. A prince and his parents are trying to get him betrothed to a future queen. He just wants to go out dressed up in dresses. And then this dressmaker is Francis. Francis is one of the only people who knows his secret and makes him the dresses that he goes out in. It was so pure and so cute. It's really about love and acceptance. Like, because he doesn't identify as trans necessarily. He identifies as that he just wants to dress as a woman sometimes. there's a really great scene where Frances is just kind of like, so, like, it's no big deal. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. And I think that representation was really great. Art was just super cute. The story was just super cute. Their struggles were just like so pure, and just the two of them were just too adorable. You can see how they get really close and they become really good friends. And yeah, it was just really cute, and it was just something nice, really nice and light to read after the heaviness of Jane Eyre, and I just needed that and something to in between. So yeah, super would recommend it. Really adorable. I'm so glad I had seen so many people give it really high praise and checked it out myself. Really, really loved. And the next book I read is The Locker Room by Megan Quinn. I started it earlier in the month, but I took my time and ended up finishing it later. The Locker Room. What can I say about The Locker Room? It is about Knox and Emery. They meet in college. Knox is a baseball player, and Emery has just got out of a really rough relationship. This is like my third book by Megan Quinn, and I have to say, I keep trying to read her, and I have yet to have liked a book of hers, I'm sorry to say. It was okay. I liked Knox and Emery's connection. I liked their chemistry. I liked them together. Knox is a little bit obnoxious. I don't know. I think it's how she writes her heroes. I don't ever really like them very much. Or her heroines for that matter. I don't know. There's something about the way that she writes it. There's something about the characters that just don't connect with me. I'm character, but I'm also plot driven. So I feel like if it's got a good plot, I can get over not connecting with the characters. If it's got really good characters, I can get over the missteps of the plot. But for her, I feel like her characters are always a little bit weak and her plot's always a little bit weak. So I think that's why I have a problem with it. One of the things also that Megan Quinn writes that I've had problems with before is that her stuff, like her characters are usually in their mid-20s to late 20s, and because they met in college, they're younger. And I really liked that because I thought she actually fit that age range better for her writing. And I was actually going to rate it higher. Like, I was thinking in the beginning it might be 3 or 4 stars, despite the fact that the beginning was rough. Because there was also like a really good few scenes where Knox is really trying to win Emery over after she's been through this really tough breakup. It came from a really good place, and I ended up making me really like Knox a lot better. And I thought that it just showed how much he cared about her, and I really liked that. And then the conflict was just really weak, and there's like an 8-year gap. I don't like time lapses in novels anyway, unless there's like a really specific purpose or a really specific need. This did not need it at all. Like, unless it was just to catch up with some of the other books in the series. The books are baseball standalones, but they're all really interconnected with each other. I guess maybe it was to catch up with the rest of the books, because I mean, I don't know. An 8-year gap. And then like when it catches up to the 8 years, they acted like no time had passed at all. And it's like, you guys had 8 years apart. That's like a huge hump to get over. And it was like, oh no, we're good. Everything's fine. What? Huh? No. So I rated it like 2.5 stars, like between 2.5, 3 stars. Yeah, that it was just a major letdown. It had a solid build up before that, but yeah, I don't know. I think I need to take a break from Megan Quinn books. This is like the second one I've read in the last like 3 months, and I'm just not loving them. I don't know. Holt was a whole side character, where he was having like he had like a secret girlfriend, and I was like, I want to read that book. Apparently it doesn't exist. Yeah, I had some issues with it. Sorry. Yeah, it just wasn't up to the par that I wanted it to be, unfortunately. To finish out the month, I read and finished. I started this book also at the beginning of the month and then finished it towards the end, and that was Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. If you ever want a book inspired by the Oregon Trail, a romance inspired by the Oregon Trail, then this book is for you. I didn't think I needed it in my life, but I absolutely did. It was so beautiful. It was a really, really great story. It was about Naomi and John Lowry. John is half Pawnee, half white, and Naomi is white, and she is going with her family across to the west through the Oregon Trail, and John is just taking his mules to like a stop, but he continues on his journey because he falls in love with Naomi. Let me tell you, it makes me really great. And reading it made me really grateful for modern times, because Oregon Trail was no joke, and there is a lot of death and some violence and rape and infant death as well. So trigger warnings for all that. But it was still beautifully written and historically gorgeous. And I feel like the representation of the tension between white and indigenous people was really well thought out. I really liked John. I thought his character was really interesting, and his connection to Naomi was really genuine and really pure. It was just really beautifully done. I rated it 4.5 stars, and the reason for that, it really came close to 5. And the reason for that is because I hate when they do prologues that aren't necessarily a prologue. It was one of those things where they did the prologue where it was a snippet of a scene from the middle of the book at the beginning in the prologue. I don't like that as a plot device. I really don't. It's used as a way to like hook the reader. I get it, but it wasn't necessary. I'm sorry. It just wasn't. The book was beautiful in itself. Like, just the writing from the get-go was really lovely. I didn't need that hook. The time when the prologue happened was about 65% into the book, so I had to wait that long to finally get there to figure out what the heck happened next. And I really don't like that as a plot device. I find that very annoying. So I marked a 0.5 star for that. It was really frustrating, because then I just felt like I just wanted to zoom to that. I didn't get a chance to enjoy the beginning of the book because I was like, what the hell prologue did I just read? That's how I felt. Still really beautiful, still really gorgeous. I read the book because it's from my Christina Lauren fan book group that I'm a part of. And because it's part of Christina Lauren's group, they actually had invited Amy Harmon to talk on our Facebook group, and her opinions and her perspective of how she approached the book just made me really want to read more from her. Really, really beautiful book, and can definitely recommend. It's on Kindle Unlimited right now. I don't know how much longer it's going to be on Kindle Unlimited for. That's my May wrap up, guys. It was a pretty good reading month. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't stick with all my TBR. Let me know in the comments if you read any of the things that I checked out, or if you're interested in any of the things that I read this month, or if you have strong opinions about things between Betrothed and Jane Eyre. I just have strong opinions all across the board. And The Locker Room. I'm so sorry. Anyway, if you have any strong opinions of other books, let me know. I'd love to know what those are. Please subscribe to my channel if you like what you see and want to see more. I have lots of things planned for June. I'm probably going very overly ambitious in my June TBR. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!